Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's a whole new day here at Comic Book 101.
It's great to be here.
I know. Apparently, there's new hosts in charge.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen him or not, but I heard there's
I
a
haven't
princess.
found him yet.
Yeah, there's a princess, and wait a minute. I'm a princess.
You're the princess.
I'm the princess of weird. Yes. And of course, Michael, right over here with me. I am Josh Johnson, your new host of Comic Book 101. Of course, Michael over here, my co-host. Hostess. Hostesses with the mostesses
Yes,
here
that
today,
works.
ladies and gentlemen. All right. A lot of you have been fans of Comic Book 101 for some time now. And as you saw, I went on a brief hiatus for a little while. There's been a lot of restructuring, retooling here at Comic Book 101. Most importantly is me and my homeboy here. We're now the dudes running the ship, steering
Every
it.
week you'll see our pretty faces.
That you will. And I got to be honest here, Michael. One of the things that drew me to this show was the idea of allowing fans out there who have never been into comic books before, want to get into comic books and anything of the culture. Here's now a show for you to have where you can now learn anything you wanted to learn about comic books. We're going to do character in-depth analysis. We're going to open some toys. We're going to talk about what came out this week. We got a lot of stuff that we've been wanting to do with this show, and hopefully we're able to do it here.
Teach everybody basic what comics to buy at first.
Yeah,
What get into and everything. What comics did you get into when you were a kid?
For me, it was a very unique thing because I remember being in elementary school, and can even remember the kid's name. His name was Michael. He was a hustler by trade. He would go video games, comic books, action figures, bubble gum, candy, whatever it may be. He was the guy we went to go get all that kind of stuff. And one day he had X-Men comics, and I had never seen a comic book, like an actual physical book in my life. The only early instances I ever had to it was the 1966 Batman show, which a lot of us watched on Nick at Night and stuff like that. So that was my introduction to it. Bought the books off of him and just fell in love with it after that. What about you, man?
My first comic I remember actually buying was Batman 500, Breaking of the Bat, when Bane broke his back.
Ah, very
Then,
good book.
I got into Spider-Man. Todd McFarlane drew Spider-Man for a while. He left Marvel Comics, went over, started Image, and I picked up Youngbloods that he did, which didn't get as popular, but Spawn was a big one. And Spawn has been my favorite comic since then.
I remember being younger, like middle school, high school. Spawn was just that character for everybody who liked something a little bit darker with their books and stuff like that. Not even just that, the imagery of the TV show that they did, the movie that they did that had John Leguizamo.
Were always geared more for adults.
That they were.
It wasn't your typical kid comic like X-Men or anything, because you had a child molester that he killed, strung him up, tortured him, stuck ice cream cone down his throat and everything.
And anybody who's out there who wants to get into Spawn right now, the one thing that you're going to hear us say over and over and over again that we want to beat into your heads of, if you're just getting into comic books, the best thing to get into is graphic novels, trade paperbacks. Those will have a condensed version of the story, so you don't have to keep buying single issues. You can just buy the whole trade paperback. We have Justice League Dark over here, and like it has all of the issues in it. Like you'll see right here, here's a Green Lantern one,
which we're both huge fans of.
Oh yeah, huge
Green Lantern tattoo. He has a Green Lantern ring.
You can get trade paperbacks like this, and it will carry the entire graphic novel and imagery, everything that you need to know for a particular story. You'll be hearing us say, get the trade paperback, because that is usually the easiest way to go about getting into comic books.
Say if you love Walking Dead and you haven't read the comics. Trade paperback's the best way to get caught up on that.
For me personally, when Umbrella Academy came out, instantly, first thing I did was go look for the trade paperback so I could get every single issue, every single story about the Umbrella Academy. And it was all right there. Simple, easy. Usually they run you a little bit more than a single issue book, because single issue books usually anywhere between $4 to $5 about. Graphic novels will run you $20, but you get the full story there. There's nothing you would miss out on for any story.
The fun part I like about single issue is Spawn just came out with issue 300 last month. 8 different copies
Oh,
you
yeah,
had to buy.
and that's the other
Like
thing.
4 black and whites, then 4 of the same ones, but color version.
And that's one of the other things we'll get into on this show is some of you aren't aware of how many single issues there are of one comic book. I mean, like you just said, that new Spawn, there's 8 different covers. What cover do you want to buy? That's all on you. Sometimes some people like the plain white copies.
I buy them all. Because I'm the collector, I have to have all the Spawn ones.
Oh, that's how I
I
used
buy
to
'em
be,
all.
but now I've just gotten to a point where I just want to read the stories. And a lot of the times, just buying the simplest, easiest version of the comic book when it's in stores right now is the best way to go to get some of those stories.
There's always tons of comic book shops. Just Google it and find them. I know
Yeah.
we got a ton down here.
Oh, yeah, we've easily got a handful that are worth going to. We'll probably get into some of those later on in the show as we continue on and stuff. But one of the other things that I really want to stress to our new audience out there is the fact that if you've never read comic books, if you've never watched any comic book movies, anything related to the material, this is going to be the show for you because we really are catering toward you. We really want you guys to walk away knowing like, hey, I want to get into like today's character spotlight is all on the Joker. We're letting you know what issues you should pick up, what trade paperbacks are good to pick up, and we'll get into a lot of that later on in the show with our character spotlight. But this is how we're going to show a lot of you audience out there like what we do have to offer. So, Michael, I believe we're going to kick things off with our first segment of the week, which will be
The Cosplayer Spotlight.
Cosplayer Spotlight. So you happen to pick up the first cosplayer. Now we're going to try to make this a subject with you fans where you can start submitting into your cosplays and we'll pick the best cosplayer of the week. And if you get chosen, we'll figure out a way to get you like an autographed 8x10 by me or something to get to you. But either way, take it away, Michael. Who's our first cosplayer of the week?
Roberto, I met him at New York Comic Con last October. Amazing cosplay. He did a great Spider-Man outfit. And he was so friendly and everything. This was his first photo shoot, I believe he said he did. So let's go ahead and pull up some photos real quick. And
there you see
that's
him.
one of my photos I actually took of him.
That's a very nice Spider-Man costume. You can see the details there. And with cosplay, it is very much in the detail, Michael.
Yeah. So his outfit was actually made by RPC Studios. That's another great one with Captain America. I didn't take that photo. He said what got him into cosplay. Let me find it. Oh, there it goes. Paying tribute to the product or icon and making friends and everything.
Oh, yeah, and that's one of the big things you'll see in the cosplay community is it's very much about building friends, building up relationships with fellow cosplayers and people who just enjoy
And even
the
I've
costumes.
seen other photos he's posted because he'll do children's birthday parties and seeing how happy the kids see, oh, it's Spider-Man, it's my favorite hero. And that's what he enjoys doing of that. He said that one's another one I took right there.
That's a very nice photo, sir.
He said his next cosplay he wants to do is going to be Batman, but the Ben Affleck version.
Oh, Batfleck? Who doesn't
Yeah.
love some Batfleck?
I like that one. That's the one Batman I think I could do because he's bigger.
And here we see J. Jonah Jameson cosplay demanding photos of Spider-Man because everybody knows a real man doesn't want nude photos. No. He wants photos of Spider-Man on his desk today.
So it was fun when we were doing a shoot because we were walking around New York and we just randomly saw JJ leaving the convention. And we're like, hey, I'm in the middle of the shoot. Can I add you into it? He's like, you sure? I'm like, yes, please.
Oh, yeah,
So he was super happy to do it. There are other pictures on Cosplay in Tampa Bay of that shoot. His daughter, which was Gwen Stacy, did
And there you
Spider-Gwen
see
in it.
on the screen the man's Instagram, our cosplayer of the week. Heck of a job, sir. We applaud you and all the greatness that you did with that cosplay.
Yeah.
Amazingness. Now, continuing on, that's cosplayer of the week. If you have any submissions for it, please use the hashtags comicbook101 and cosplay of the week. We want to see what submissions you guys have out there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure if we have an Instagram page. If not, we'll definitely get that
You can
started
always-
up this week.
Yeah, we
Message the page.
We've got, like I said, a lot of stuff coming, ladies and gentlemen. This is just episode number 1. We've got episode 2, 3, 4. We've got a bunch in the pipeline. We've got a lot of plans here for Comic Book One.
Anytime soon.
No, we do not. Now, continuing on, we're going to move on to Comics of the Week. We're going to come up with some better names for some of these things. Obviously, every Wednesday is New Comic Book Day, and tomorrow is a whole new batch of new comic books. We will discuss next week's comics next week, but this week, the only book that I've personally read was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus the Power Rangers, or Power Rangers TMNT. It was a really good read so far. There are only 2 issues out right now, and there you see issue number 1 on the screen. You can go to any comic book shop if you are into this story and want to read more into this story to find out the pairing of this. It was really good, and the one thing that's been making news all around is in issue 2, the very last panel, we see the new Green Ranger, and there he is. The Shredder himself has the Green Ranger's power coin, and
I can't wait to see a cosplay of that.
Oh, that's going to be quite amazing.
MegaCon, we're going to see that there.
Oh yeah, guaranteed. And it's an amazing issue, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to pick up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus the Power Rangers, please go to your local comic book store. There's websites you can go to. Visit them. Pick up the book. There's only 2 issues out right now. It's very easy to gravitate toward it. Rob, if we could pull up once again the image of issue number 1. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
This isn't their first time either.
This is definitely not the first time the Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers, or Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, have crossed over. There was once a TV show back in the day when Saban Entertainment was making the Power Rangers and that amazingly horrible Ninja Turtles TV show.
Ninja Turtles.
That was the last time they teamed up, but this way better than the last time, I do gotta admit. And you can check it out for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, by picking up that book at any of your local comic book stores.
So is that better team up than Ninja Turtles and Batman?
It's kind of hard to say. I do enjoy some of the team-ups lately with the Ninja Turtles. I didn't get the chance to read the Batman Ninja Turtles one or get to watch the movie yet. Maybe in a future installment I'll finally get to it and stuff, but as of right now, I'm digging this Power Rangers Ninja Turtles crossover. I did not expect some of the turns and the twists that it's been taking.
This weekend I'll definitely go pick them up.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth the pickup. You can go to, like I said, go to your local comic book shop, pick up your book. You're going to want to check out Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issues 1 and 2. And once again, if you want to wait, give it another few months, probably about 5-6 months down the line, the trade paperback will be out, and then you can just read every single issue in one quick shot. They come out monthly, and we'll obviously be covering more of these issues as they come out.
I didn't get to read any comics yet this week. Show was kind of, hey, you want to do it last Friday, so I wasn't prepared with any comics yet this week, so I didn't get a chance to read any.
Now, let's ask the crowd out there, if you guys are reading comic books right now, what are you reading? We want to know, what should we be reading? I know Absolute Carnage just came out with a full trade paperback of that. Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool also came out. You can pick up that trade paperback.
That's one I definitely want to check out.
There is also a ton of other items that you can go out and pick up this week for as far as books and graphic novels. We highly recommend going to your local comic book store and checking those out.
So earlier today, I posted on the page, what comic book did you first start reading? And we got a bunch of people. Tur Rawling, hopefully I pronounced your name right. You said Archie and Super Goof. I'm not sure who that is.
It may be Super Goofy.
Possibly when he was 5. Demon Williams said Transformers #1 by Marvel. Williams said Halloween's Comics, Captain America. Another person said Thunder Agents #7. We had more Archie, Batman, Spider-Man, G.I. Joe, Superman 161, and Neil George said Nova 12.
There you go. A lot of great first issues for people out there. Like, once again, anybody at any time, you can go to your local comic book store today and just ask the clerk, hey, I'm interested in this character. What do you have to offer? And a lot of times they'll bring you right over to the graphic novel section. They'll bring you right over to the new releases so that you can check out some of these things that you'll hear us talking about week after week. And once again, like, it's something that we've been passionate about for years. I remember when I was a little kid and that new issue every Wednesday. Just going to the shops, trying to pick up things, finding new things that I never even knew existed. Sometimes you'll go out to a shop, and once again, they say never judge a book by a cover, but in comic books, that's usually what you want to do, because you want to check out those books. You want to find the best covers, because there might be something that just pops out to you that'll make you want to read one of these stories.
I know a lot of times when I did the whole place the order where they come every Wednesday, the comic guy would be like, oh, you should check this out. Here, try this one. If you don't like it, let me know.
See, my wife
would always try new ones.
And then you never know what you might find out there and stuff like that. Like my wife, she just started getting into comic books once we started dating, and the one thing she hardcore got into was Harley Quinn, because most people nowadays get into Harley Quinn, get into Deadpool. She loves some Harley. But the other thing that surprised me that she got into, which not a lot of people know of, if you're a Disney Parks fan, they make comic books all about the character Figment. And the Haunted Mansion has comic books. A few of the other attractions at Disney World and Disneyland all have comic books. It's a nice interwoven storyline with all these different attractions. And she read those Figment graphic novels and instantly fell in love with the character and never had seen Journey into Imagination. Now every time we go, we have to go to Journey to Imagination.
And another way to try out new comics books, free comic book day.
Yes.
Because they always give you a shit ton out there. Here, try this, try this.
Yeah, and even then, one of the things that I always want to stress, if you've got little kids at home, there are books that are for littler kids that you can expose them to. If you don't want your kid reading about the Joker cutting his own face off, that's perfectly fine. That's understandable. I don't want my 2-year-old reading that either, but they do make stuff like Justice League Unlimited, where the Joker and Harley Quinn stole Batman's cowl and was running around the Justice League Tower and stuff like that. A lot more innocent. Superhero Squad has issues and stuff like that. They do make comics for younger audiences. Scrooge McDuck has comic books.
My Little Pony.
Disney Princesses.
And then talk about comics, you have a whole another genre of comics, manga.
Yes.
The Japanese ones.
Which I'm not into whatsoever. That's
we'll
all of us,
those
man.
Another week.
Yeah, definitely we might have to exchange some information on some of those. But that's not my wheel well. I was never into anime, I was never into manga. But that's why I asked Michael here to join me on the show, because that is his realm. That is his forte. I love American cartoons, American comic books. You will occasionally find me reading some really weird stuff here and there, just because of I enjoy the stories way more from Marvel and DC and Dark Horse, more so than some of the other stories and actual books you can go out there and read. Like, you'll never catch me reading an actual Star Wars book, but I will read the new Star Wars Kylo Ren comic book that just started dropping out. And once again, if you're into the movies, you're into the Star Wars films, you can easily go out and check out some of these graphic novels. Like, Kylo Ren now has a book for issue number 2, I believe it's on. It's only come out a couple of months ago, and you can pick those up at local comic book shops. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us here at Comic Book 101. I am the Princess of Weird, Josh Johnson, the Brawl USA social media champion. This is the other host. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Michael Stanley, cosplaying Tampa Bay for my photography, host of Nerd Talk, which you host now too.
Yep, co-host on that bad boy. And of course I will have Hanging Ringside coming relatively soon. We're still hammering out all the great details on that. You can be sure to check out WeBeam TV for all of this information. Now, the holiday season just recently passed, and I don't know about you, but one of the things that I always get is action figures.
Yes. No, we can't let them do this.
No, we're going to let me do this, because there is no ifs, ands, buts about that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you out there, not only will you want to collect comic books, not only do you want to collect some of the movies and stuff, but if you're like me, you want action figures.
heck yeah.
The best way to represent your fandom sometimes is by collecting action figures. There's so many out there, and for my Christmas this year, it was more of a Star Wars themed Christmas, because
the new movie came out.
Not just that, I got huge into Galaxy's Edge. I got huge into a lot of things Star Wars lately. The Mandalorian helped a huge bit, and I wound up getting these two little bad boys, some Hasbro Kenner Star Wars action figures. I'm going to hold them up a little bit better there. And you know what we're going to do here? We're going to let these bad boys breathe, because my weekly purchases, I like to open. We're going to go on RoboCam here. So there's Kylo Ren's lightsaber. There's his other little attachment thing. And pop him out right here. There we go. Kylo Ren and all of his greatness. One of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. Him and Darth Vader and L337. There we go. There's our little Kylo Ren figure now. Push him up a little bit more. And then let's get rid of the cases here because we don't need those anymore. We already know what's in the... Now let's open up Darth Vader. All right. Then let's slide out there. Try to slide out his lightsaber because they have it taped in. Oh my goodness!
Oh,
I did
his
not.
helmet came off.
His helmet even comes off. I am so thoroughly happy with that. My last one didn't have that. Can't really see it, but yep, there he is. His helmet goes on. His lightsaber, and I like this version of the figures a little bit more than the other style because the cloth goods on this Darth Vader figure are really the details that adds to it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The two Dark Lords of the Sith pretty much running the entire show here. Let's push them back a little bit so Rob can, our producer, can get them on the Robo Skycam. There we go. Rob's telling me to stop making him chase them. Never, because we're going to be chasing a lot of things. We're going to be chasing pop vinyls. We're going to be chasing action figures like this. Two new collections, Kylo Ren and Darth Vader. And every week, I'm always buying new toys. I can never stop buying toys. My wife absolutely hates it. Most of my paycheck goes towards action figures. And I collect a lot of random stuff. And we'll see me opening them here and there. Do you get anything new? Christmas, action figures.
Action figures? No. No, I didn't get any action figures for Christmas.
None. Surprising.
Yeah.
I thought I wasn't going to get any pop vinyls and then wound up surprising myself in the
my
end.
biggest Christmas gift was a car.
Oh, yeah. See, there
So,
you go.
No action figures needed after that.
Yeah, no, but maybe you need to paint up the car. Do that nice little tint to it. Get the stretchy vinyl. Throw some Green Lanterns. Throw some Batman on
Maybe
there.
not on this car, on the next one.
There you go. I drive around in a death machine, so yeah.
I want to know what things people want to see us open up.
Yeah, that's another big thing. What do you guys...
What would you cringe if we opened?
I mean, on Nerd Talk, if you've been there, I've opened up a 1990s Hasbro Warlord figure. I've opened up in 1999 original San Francisco Toy Makers ECW Taz. We've opened up Kylo Ren and Darth Vader here. I've got a bunch of toys. Let's see what you guys wanted us to open up as well. We want this show to be as much about you people, our fans, and everybody tuning in. You can hear how we're still stuttering a little bit through this because this is our first episode, ladies and gentlemen. We could not believe that we actually were given this.
We do Nerd Talk, so we don't stutter through that.
Yeah, well, there's also way more people, and we're still trying to find our footing on some of this, and we're hoping that you help us find our footing as well, ladies and gentlemen.
What I definitely want to do at MegaCon, walk up, we'll chip in, buy something kind of pricey. People would collect and not open up and just rip it open right there on the floor.
I am all for that.
And seeing the vendor freak out.
It's like it reminds me a lot of the people who would buy the PlayStations or the Xboxes and then just take a spray ball bat right to it and stuff like that.
Well, I don't want to break them, but
no, definitely not.
The people out.
At least freak a couple people out because. For me, one of the big things about collecting figures and the big reason why I opened them up is I wound up watching a documentary recently by Stu Stone all about sports cards and the hobby that went into collecting. I remember, I don't know if you're like me, back in the 1990s, going to card shops was the big deal. That's where you got new comic books. And that's where you got a lot of these sports cards and stuff. And like Ken Griffey Jr.'s rookie card from, I believe, Topps or Upper Deck. $0. That's how much it is worth today because there were so many of them in the market that people they thought there was money and then the market wound up going out. To me, it's the same thing with some of these action figures that you have out there is especially like Star Wars and professional wrestling. So many collectors nowadays are, well, I need to make sure this appreciates in value, so I'm going to keep it in the box. I'm going to keep it mint on card.
Buy special cases to keep them in and everything.
And then in 10 years, the figure's only worth $3 more than you purchased the thing for. Heck, the card plastic that you're keeping to keep your card as minty possible, that costs you more than the figure at this point in time. So sometimes opening them up, letting them breathe, letting them get a little dirty, that's what's going to make some value with some of these figures appreciate. If you guys remember back in the 70s and the 80s when the Star Wars figures came out, what made those so valuable in the 90s and the 2000s and into today was the fact that so many kids opened them up, just let them breathe, let them play with them, destroyed those figures, because then
And
that's
people are
what
still
made
after those old ones too.
yeah, and that's what made the figures worth something in today's market, is because there were so many people just destroying them. Look, if you snap this Darth Vader figure in half, that means there's now one less in the entire populace of the world that somebody can collect.
If I had all the toys from when I was a kid, I remember me and my best friend would bury Chewbacca.
I buried Chewbacca on a daily
so
basis.
Many figures. I'm like, you know how much money that would have been worth if we kept it sealed.
Oh, I was a Transformers collector, and
Transformers were the best.
I had Soundwave, Starscream, Optimus Prime, all like the key characters of today's that like just loose and without parts go for around 50, 60 bucks. It's quite an amazing thing, some action figures nowadays.
I'll still buy them. I don't care.
I'm currently putting together my WWF Hasbro collection, and this has been a collection I've been working on for well over 10 years. Just because of some
figures?
No, those were the LJN figures.
Those were the ones I grew up with.
I'm talking about the ones that came after that, the little 1990 Hasbro's figures, the ones that I, like the Warlord I opened and stuff like that. Those are the figures I collect, and just trying to piece together some of this. Green cards loose are around $100 and something.
And you're just going to rip it open.
And no, that's loose. That's already opened.
But if
like,
you can find one sealed.
and if you find them sealed, that's still a good couple $100 right there. And yes, I would open it, but that's where all my collection is. They're all open. They're all loose. Everything I collect for the most part is loose. The only thing which I'm weird about,
displayed and played with.
to me, the one thing that I collect that I don't open is Funko Pops. I like the look of a Funko Pop box when they're still all sealed and everything like that. It's the only thing I don't open up.
Yeah, I got a few Funko Pops. I started the collection after New York Comic Con, and I won't be opening them.
Yeah,
The ones I got are New York Comic Con exclusives. I'm like, nope, I will not open them.
What's your favorite New York Comic Con exclusive pop? Or San Diego Comic Con, any of those exclusive pops?
Of ones I own?
Or that you've seen.
The ones I've owned, New York, no, it was San Diego Comic Con, Power Ranger, Green Ranger. New York Comic Con would be my All Might from My Hero Academia, or my Bluntman and Chronic.
Nice.
Those are my favorite. And I got two of each when I bought them.
Nice. For me, one of my personal favorites that I got was, I got it at a GameStop, because you know how they do the GameStop, GameStops, Hot Topics, Walmarts, a few other places. They will get some of these summer exclusive, these con exclusive Funko Pops in small numbers to be sold in the stores. I got a Superman statue one, where it has the spray painting on the chest. I can't remember what it says on it off the top of my head, but that was personally one of my favorites. I don't even I hate Superman. I don't collect anything Superman really, but that one figure, that one pop from that scene in Batman vs. Superman just really made me go, oh, I need that Funko Pop. One of my favorite ones.
Pre-ordered recently, comes out, I want to say next month, Spider-Man from the new movie, and he's holding the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh, yes, I will pre-order this.
Yeah, and once again, if there's anything you ever want, ladies and gentlemen, whether it be an action figure or comic book that's coming out, your local comic book store are the best places to go. Every single one of them takes pre-orders. Every single one of them is willing to do subscriptions for you. So if there's a book that you want, that you really want to get every issue of it, like the Ninja Turtles that we just talked about versus the Power Rangers, Absolute Carnage, or any other books that are coming out over the next year, go to them, talk to them, be like, hey, I want to put a subscription down on this comic book, and they'll make sure every time a new issue comes out, they're on your front door. They're waiting for you right at your shops.
Do you buy the card backs for them when you get comics?
Yes, I do. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on, the importance of plastics and card backs and stuff, because a lot of times you want to keep your comics as minty mint as you physically can. They might not appreciate in value, but it's still good to have them looking nice and in plastic, so that way if there is any damage or anything like that, you easily have them somewhat protected, because they will very easily get destroyed if not. Or you can just do what we did back in the day and just toss them around, fold them up, do whatever you want. You know, and it's one of those things. Same thing with comic books, same thing with trading cards, action figures. The appreciation of value for some of these things. Don't think you're buying a brand new book off the shelves and it's going to be worth hundreds of dollars later. Very few and far between books. The last time I heard anything like that is when Walking Dead came out. Issue number 1 of Walking Dead, because of how limited supply it was. It became insane just to get that one issue. And today, it's still pretty crazy to get that one issue, but they've re-released it 3, 4, 5 different times. So just to get first printing, first issue, that's somewhere where it might be worth a little bit of money.
First printing, first issue sold on eBay for $10,100.
Autographed or unautographed?
Unautographed, it was 9.9.
And once again,
rating.
The only reason you're going to get something like that is based off of the popularity of the TV show alone. Because so many fans get into the shows, get into the movies first, and then that's sometimes what will drive up a value of a comic book out there, is the fact that, look,
Especially
everybody's
Infinity
into
Gauntlet.
it.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
drove that up. Everybody was after that, after the movie.
And just think about it. Morbius is coming out. Now, 2 weeks ago, nobody cared about the living vampire Morbius, but we've got Jared Leto's movie coming out relatively soon, and you're going to see
happy with that one.
somewhat of a spike in popularity in Morbius over the next few months. This might be the perfect time to go and hunt down some of those Morbius
Find a
graphic novels.
Pop figure,
A
action
pop
figure,
vinyl, whatever you may be in, now might be the time to get into some of those characters, because not everybody has gotten into it. And if you really want to be ahead of the game for when the movie comes out, checking out those graphic novels in trade paperback form at any of your local comic book stores. Books A Million can order them for you. Amazon can order them for you. Go look up those trade paperbacks and find a story that might interest you, because that'll be your introduction to that character. And when you go to see the movies with your buddies and stuff, you'll be the one that everybody's leaning into to be like, hey,
What's going on?
Yeah.
What did he do? Who's that popping up on the screen?
Exactly. And you could be the guy who already knows all the answers because you spent $15 on the graphic novel before anybody else did. That's what I did with a perfect example, The Watchmen. When that movie was coming out and gearing out, I went out and got the trade paperback of it. Did not regret it for one bit. It became one of my favorite graphic novels of all time. And I would have never been able to read the whole story if I went after just the single issues. Those trade paperbacks, once again, help you get a full story in a very condensed, cheap version of it.
And it's a good time to be a nerd now, because I remember growing up when I was a kid, getting comics, you were the nerd, get picked on at school and everything. People look down on you. Now everybody reads comics. Everybody's watching the movies, the cartoons. It's a good time for it.
Oh, that it most certainly is. Now, we're going to continue on here, ladies and gentlemen, to our character spotlight of the week. Are you ready for this one? This week, we have chosen the Joker to be our character spotlight of the week. Now, this is where we're going to go a little bit more in depth on some of these characters, ladies and gentlemen, and tell you some of the issues, some of the movies, some of the games, some of the pop culture status material that you're going to want to pick up if you want to get into some of these extra characters and get to know some of these characters a little bit more. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is obviously the very first appearance of the Joker, which was in Batman #1 on April 25th, 1940. And there you see the very first issue of Batman. This cover alone is just pure comic book history.
Yeah.
Like
So
everything.
simple of a cover at the time, too.
Bob Kane going out and creating one of the greatest lasting heroes of all time. And in that very first issue was the Joker. He popped up the very first page. There you see him, ladies and gentlemen. And originally was supposed to die by the end of the comic book, but because they wanted to keep a little ambiguity with it, he kept around all these years. This is why we have all the movies, all the cartoons. Everything is based off of this Batman #1. And then, what other issues did you happen to really enjoy?
There were so many, from Killing Joke. God, there's too many Jokers to talk about.
Oh, yeah. And to me, one of the best artists that has ever done the Joker is a man by the name of Alex Ross. Alex Ross's art is just purely phenomenal. That is not a still photo, ladies and gentlemen. That is actual art that a man had hand drawn. And this image of the Joker and Harley Quinn is by far
Most popular you can Google.
yeah,
Anywhere.
everywhere. T-shirts, you can find this on. Graphic novels, you can find it on single issues. This image itself of Alex Ross's rendition of the Joker is just iconic.
There's a cosplayer called Joker's Harley. I think he's based out in California, and he did that photo shoot with a Harley and everything. It looks perfect.
And then you can see that particular image in the Suicide Squad movie because they wound up
They played
remaking
tribute for that.
that tribute shot in that movie with that image with Jared Leto and Margot Robbie, who played Harley Quinn in that film. Other things that you want to check out, ladies and gentlemen, is Death in the Family. Huge comic book with Batman. This is the one
That's
where
where it gets dark.
this is where it gets really dark because this is the one where it was voted on by fans to kill Robin. It was released in single issue form originally, but nowadays you can pick up that graphic novel. Right there is what the cover usually looks like. And
Now
once
it's Tim Drake Robin.
yes, that was the Tim Drake Robin that was brutally murdered by the Joker with a crowbar. And once again, if you want to read this story, the best way to go about doing it, go to your local comic book shop. Ask the clerk if you can't find it. In the trade paperback section, you'll be able to find Batman Death in the Family. And you'll be able to read the entire story as it was intended. Of course, Death of the Family was another really good one. We don't have an image of that one particularly. That's once again still Death in the Family. Death of the Family had the Joker, after he had surgically removed his own face in the New 52, coming back and hunting down each member of the Bat family and getting under the skin of Batman to a really deep emotional level, just like he did with Commissioner Gordon in The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
And that's another amazing issue, is The Killing Joke. You can go out and find that as a trade paperback very easily. I know Books A Million has it. Any comic book shop would have this. And this is the one where the Joker attacks
Another classic
and
photo right
paralyzes Batgirl and proves that one bad day can equal a lot of trouble for Batman, the Bat family, James Gordon, or anybody for that matter. Personally, one of my favorite all-time books is that Killing Joke book because it really shows how dark and twisted the Joker was willing to go to torment Batman.
We've seen different variations of Joker. From in the beginning, he was more happy, joking,
Playful clown,
Yeah.
and then as time has gone on, as Batman's
He gets
gone on,
darker and
the darker
darker
the
and
Dark
crazy.
Knight has gotten, the darker Joker has gotten. And I think that is a lot comes from the parable between the two of them. They are the same exact person on two different sides of a coin, not to get confused with all that Two-Face stuff. But really, the Joker and Batman, both under the same kind of moral code, except for one's willing to kill, the other one not so much. And at any point in any time, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out Killing Joke, Death in the Family, Death of the Family, Joker. There are so many different graphic novels and different books you can pick up, and all you got to do is go to your local comic book shop and ask for the trade paperbacks, the single issues. They usually have them, and they always have them in decent prices. Unless you're going for the single issues, then something like Death in the Family is going to cost you probably a little bit more money.
Now it'd
Especially
be-
like the first appearance of Batman as well. That would
And that's
easily,
probably if you're wanting to collect the comic.
yeah,
put
but
it
if
on
you're just
display.
trying to read the story, graphic novels, trade paperbacks are really the way to go, ladies and gentlemen. And continuing on with more of this character spotlight, let's talk a little bit about video games and how they've tied into some of the comic books. For me, Injustice. Injustice was an amazingly awesome, not only graphic novel, but video game series as well. And this one, the Joker convinces Superman to kill Lois Lane, kill his unborn or kill his child, all while using the Joker toxins, and equals Superman flipping out and breaking
Going
rules that
crazy.
we never thought Superman would break. And easily, by far, one of my favorite things involving the Joker that is out there today. And it lets you, if you're playing the video game, you actually gain control over the Joker, and some of his moves legit come from the comic books to a point of like, oh, there's the crowbar that he would use, there's the bazooka he would use, there's the Joker toxin he would use. All the things that make the Joker Joker you get to play with in that
Little
game and actually get to
shot buzzer.
control. Yeah. really amazing thing, and of course Injustice 2, the sequel video game, you don't really get a lot of Joker in that one. You get more Harley Quinn because it's supposed to be a couple years later, but still very worth checking out if you can get up the graphic novel or the video game. Now, we would be remiss because with a lot of our fans out there, they only know the film versions of the Joker, whether it be the animated version or the live action versions.
The Lego version.
The Lego version, personally, for me, was one of my all-time favorite ones. Zach Galifianakis did an amazing job as Lego Joker, and I thought with the Lego Batman film as a whole, they did a really good job of tying in not just the films, not just the TV shows, but the comics as well. When they go into the Batcave, there's the giant penny, there's the T-Rex, there's all of the Batmobiles, and I think Zach Galifianakis' Joker really added that extra element onto this film.
He had a good comic role to it.
Yes.
Like the Legos are.
And once
Lego
again,
games.
as we've seen with the character throughout the years, which you can pick up in any of these trade paperbacks, you get to see that more comical side as opposed to the more homicidal version of the Joker.
Yeah.
Definitely something that you can show your kids and not be like, oh, how horrible is it going to be? Of course, the first time Joker ever appears on film is in 1966 with Cesar Romero in the Batman TV show. Personally, one of my all-time favorites. This is how I was introduced to the Joker myself, and part of the reason I became a fan of the Joker was getting to see Cesar Romero's performance each and every week as he did his thing there.
He wasn't as creepy as we see other Jokers get, but it was a good start to bring out Joker live action. He still had that menacing, oh, he can actually kill me or do something, but he still brought a very funny role to it.
That he did. And then our producer Rob saying that, oh no, he might be crazy kind of thing. You never really understood or got where the Joker was coming from. And that's something that is tied with the character all the way till today. And if you're a fan of the 1966 Joker, they make Batman 66, which is a comic book all based off of the Adam West, Burt Ward versions of Batman, still going strong. They've made 2 animated features with that. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, go check out those 2 films. Go check out the graphic novels. You can pick them up at any Books A Million, any Amazon, any comic book store. Batman 66 comic is definitely worth something.
Now, a little fun fact with Romero is he had a mustache. He loved it so much, he refused to shave. He had to put makeup over it.
Yeah, and there, if you can kind of see a little bit, any images you'll see of him, you'll see that faintness of a mustache. And once again, that was all choice by Cesar Romero because his mustache was so iconic to him that he did not want to remove it. And to me, it added a little bit of an element of the character for that time period. Even when you have to draw him, you got to draw those little hairs on him because it's something so iconic to that character.
Then the next version we see in the cinema of Joker is one of my favorites.
Not me personally. Jack Nicholson's Joker was the next one to come out with Tim Burton's Batman. We all know what he looks like. We dance with the devil in the pale moonlight very often. But for me, I was never a big fan of Tim Burton's Batman. And you're a Jay and Silent Bob fan. You've heard some of the stories. For me, Tim Burton doesn't make comic book movies. Tim Burton makes Tim Burton movies. So any movie you're ever going to get of Tim Burton, whether it be a comic book or not, it's going to be very much dialed down to his style. Now, for me personally, that even as the characters evolved in age, Jack Nicholson's Joker, as great as he was, there were still certain things to me that I didn't like. The fact that the Joker kills Batman's parents was a big thing for me that kind of turned me off. Just like little nuances.
What about him pulling out the big gun out of his pants?
I did enjoy that because it was very much in the vein of what Joker is. And you'll see a lot of that through the history of the Joker.
So what I have a question is with that movie, we all know the big party scene he has in the streets, all the balloons. Where did he have time to get the balloons? Get people to learn how to handle those balloons.
Well, if you can tell, he had Prince make his music. So when you have Prince working with you, anything can happen. Because Prince is the type of guy, when he was alive, to be like, it's 4 a.m. in Milwaukee, I need a camel. And they would get that man a camel instantly, like no questions asked. Then we would go a very good while before we would ever see another Joker in
Yeah.
film. However, we would get Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill, as the Joker, and not just Batman the Animated Series, not just in the video games, but in a lot of different films and animated films. Perfect example, we've talked about it already, the graphic novel of The Killing Joke. He voices the Joker in the animated movie of The Killing Joke.
He's probably my favorite Joker that's been on screen so far.
Hands down, absolutely my favorite version of the Joker.
Just get his voice.
Yes. And even then, the few times that Mark Hamill has actually gotten to play the Joker, he played him in Birds of Prey for one quick scene. They had another actor playing him, but he provided the voice. Just that laugh of Mark Hamill is just so iconic to the character that is at times hard for me to envision other animated versions of him without that voice. One person who came very close in the believe it was the Under the Red Hood was Joe DiMaggio from Futurama. He did an amazing job.
Which Joker was Red Hood originally the first time around too.
Yeah, and that one deals with the whole death in the family story that we talked about after Jason Todd comes back as the Red Hood. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out any of the things we talked about, at your local comic book shops, they have these trade paperbacks available for you to buy and read on your own. If there's anything you guys are reading that you want us to hear about, if you want to give us your 2 cents and opinion, please check us out on Facebook. Do you have the official Facebook look? Comic Book 101.
Just Comic Book 101 TV.
Comic Book 101 TV. We'll have a lot of these links for you in the future, ladies and gentlemen, because once again, this is just episode 1. I'm having fun. This is definitely a lot of fun.
And after that, when was the next Joker? Do you remember?
Of course I do. Is my all-time favorite Joker. That is Heath Ledger's version of the Joker. And there you see...
He brings a big twist to the Joker.
Very much so. And I love the whole idea of the character that he could be anyone, anything, and anyone. They really did a great job in showing... and especially Heath Ledger, showing that line of sanity that the Joker has of you might think he's crazy, but he's actually 5 steps ahead of you. The perfect example being when he's with Harvey Dent with the gun and giving him the illusion of choice of killing him, and his hand is behind the gun hammer the entire time so it can never fire off on him. Those are the little details that make Heath Ledger's Joker, to me, one of the top Jokers in the history of the character.
Everything in that movie he did was so good, from giving up prisoners on one boat and innocent people, the triggers to blow whatever one apart, the jail scene when he's in the jail.
Oh, even perfect. When he blows up the hospital. Yeah. The entire scene when he's hitting the buttons and it's not working, all improvised by Heath Ledger, who's just feeling it in that moment of like, this is kind of what the character would do. You got to love somebody who goes that deep into the character's mind to pull out that kind of a performance.
And sad he passed away, because if they did another movie, he would probably do it again.
Oh, yeah, hands down. It probably would have been... Dark Knight Rises would have been way better than it actually was. And I'm a fan of The Dark Knight Rises. I loved Bane in that film. But that's another story for another day, because we continue on with the Joker. And then we get Jared Leto's Joker from the Suicide Squad films. And I don't know about you, I enjoyed
Joker.
I enjoyed Juggalo Joker. There were parts to it, because once again, we've talked about the history of the character and how diverse of a character he can be. If Joker were to exist in this kind of day and era, that's kind of what he would look like. Think about how modern gangsters and even just modern rappers dress and look.
I still think this is more Jason Todd. This is Jason Todd being Joker because of that tattoo on his face. Because when Jason Todd was tortured, he got the J tattoo.
That's a very good opinion. Nothing will ever...
We never know.
Yeah, you'll never know. And for me personally, I don't think he did that bad of a job. I mean, it could have been a heck of a lot worse with some of the performances out there. Because to me, the absolute worst performance of the Joker in any version was The Batman, where the Joker had dreadlocks, no shoes on. He was voiced by the principal from American Dad.
Yeah.
Like, that one, for me, was bottom of the barrel, like one of the worst Jokers.
I count that one.
But for me, it's one of those things in our society and the way it sits today. Jared Leto's Joker, we have juggalos that exist in this world. You can't tell me that the Joker wouldn't have been some version of a juggalo. And in that version of it with Jared Leto's, that is
type thug.
completely encapsulated.
Yeah.
Think about it. He gets the gold guns, the really ridiculous ride, the purple Lambo. All the little nuances to that character were all little things to me that if he existed in a modern gangster society that we
would
have,
probably be
that's
looking
probably
like that,
very
a
close to
gorilla.
what it would be.
Yeah, I could see that, thinking more about it.
And continuing with our character spotlight, we're going to
Then we would
move.
go to the TV show.
Yes, the
before
Gotham
next
TV
one.
show. Before we get into the movie review, we're going to talk about the Gotham one now. That one was very unique and interesting to me because they took a lot of liberties with the character of some of the things that they're doing with the new 52 of Joker might not be one person.
Yeah.
He might be multiple people all under the same role.
In this one, they still use the typical fallen vault of acid and everything to become who he is. The first person he thought was Joker was his twin. Then it happens he didn't become Joker. This one did. And wasn't my favorite.
Yeah,
I preferred Jared Leto before this version.
I like the kid who is the actor.
Oh, yeah, he's
in
a
it.
great actor.
He's an amazing actor. If you've ever seen him in Shameless,
Yeah.
amazing. I believe he's in the new Star Wars game as well, the Fallen Jedi Order. I believe he's the main character. Amazing actor. Like for me personally, I've never watched Gotham. It was hard for me to get into that show
The first
because
season
I don't
got
want
into it, then it just died. First couple was actually good, then it just got stupid for me. I'm like, I can't watch it.
See, I'll always give everything it's kind of just desserts. I'll watch almost anything. I've watched Superhero Squad. I've watched, Batman, the animated series. I've watched a lot of different weird things just to kind of get a full rounded version of some of these characters at times. And eventually I will check it out. But for me, they really hardcore went with that new 52 idea of the Joker is more of an idea than a set person, which they've hardcore been using in the new 52. There was issues with Batman trying to find out the Joker's identity, only to find out there are 3 Jokers in the current timeline. And he's still trying to figure that out from the last I gathered because he's dealing with the Batman Who Laughs and the Dark Knight Metal series.
And using that theory that anybody could be Joker falls into the next person we're going to talk about.
Yes, and
Because
which
some
is our
people don't
movie
think-
review
Some
of
people
the
don't
week.
think he is the real Joker. He's
No.
just the face of it, then someone else picks up the mantle after him and becomes Joker.
And of course, our movie review of the week for this week is going to be Todd Phillips' The Joker. To continue with our character spotlight on the Joker, I just watched the movie last night.
I saw it opening night. I loved it.
I was indifferent about it because there were certain things with me, with the film, and with the character we're discussing here today that I thought could have been slightly better. They really hardcore went with the society's making him what he is.
Yeah, the mental issues he has, they addressed that and everything, why he is the way he is in society. Then you see all the shit stuff messed up in his head that he's pretending he sees someone, the neighbor, being friends with him when she's not. Then what happens at the end?
Yes.
Which everybody probably seen it by now.
Yes, that ending, like, I hadn't even seen the movie yet, and I already knew how the movie ended. Very much for me, like, the people who made that movie, it seemed like they were hardcore going with a comedian, taxi driver, that kind of feel of a film with the Joker. And I know a lot of people had an issue with this, is how do you take such a villain and an anti-hero and a character that is very much buck authority and make him the hero and the main focus of a story where you're supposed to be rooting for him at the end of the day. This is the one time where I wasn't rooting for the Joker at the end of the day.
I felt bad for him at some points, how he was being picked on and got beat up and everything. I'm like, I actually feel bad. I can see why you transformed into who you are now.
Yeah.
I see him as a different person.
And that was one of those things that you could kind of take into the future installments. They've already talked about possibly doing a sequel with it. And it's for me, where do you take that story? Where does it go? Obviously, Bruce Wayne will eventually have to take up the cowl, but
Would you see young Bruce Wayne in this?
do we see Arthur Fleck get dumped into a vat of chemicals? Do we see somebody take up the mantle that Arthur Fleck originally created in this film as the Joker? I thought there were... At times, it got really dark for just the sake of being dark.
What was your favorite part of the movie, though?
Honestly, the moments in which he had to do yoga and Tai Chi to try to level himself and just trying to deal into the world that is around him, because that showed to me a man very much just trying to navigate.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do good. He's just kind of there in the middle, and he's reacting to everything as it starts happening to him.
As bad as scene it was, my favorite was when he shot his coworker in the apartment, and the little midget's over there, and the midget has the face like, "Oh shit, I'm next." And Arthur's like, "No, you can go." You see a midget try and grab the door handle, and he's like, "Can you help me?"
Yeah.
Like, he's going to kill him. He's going to kill him. And he's like, "No, you didn't do me wrong. You're free to go."
Yeah, and I thought that was a great thing that they put in there, because if you watch Batman the Animated Series like I used to watch, there was a episode in which the Joker let a man go away scot-free under the guise of, "I'm going to request a favor from you somewhere down the line. You won't know where, you don't know when, but I'm going to get a favor from you." The guy changes his identity, moves away from Gotham City, does all this stuff to try to avoid the Joker.
And he still finds him.
But the Joker still finds him and cashes in that favor that he needed from him, because that's the type of character that the Joker is.
Yeah.
He's very driven on his goals. Well,
The movie got dark, but I think they did a good job with it.
yeah, I mean,
You should
overall,
definitely win some awards for it.
Overall, I think it was definitely a film that they took certain aspects of the source material and made it something completely original and all of its own.
Now, I don't think he is the real Joker, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us here at Comic Book 101. We want to make this show very much about you guys as it is about us. If there's any comic books you want us to be checking out, if there's any movies, TV shows, anything
You
within
disagree with anything we said, tell us.
Call us out on it. If you think there's something that we should be covering or figures that we should be opening, or you want to be our cosplayer of the week, send us a message at Comic Book 101 TV on Facebook. We will have the links in the next coming weeks here, ladies and gentlemen. You are very much as part of this as we are. We're wanting to do this all for you. This is why we keep emphasizing, you will hear me say it thousands of times, please go to your local comic book store, visit them, visit Books A Million, visit Amazon, wherever you would feel comfortable to buy comic books, and go out there and read something. You never know what you might find, and you might be able to do something with your kids and your family that you never had the ability to do before.
Definitely agree. I'll be at the comic shop this weekend picking up Ninja Turtles.
I definitely will be at the shop this week as well. There's a lot of things coming out that I've kind of got my eye on. I might be reading that Absolute Carnage, and we can talk about that next week, and a few other things. But
It's been a good show. We're running out of time.
That we are.
I believe we're running out of time. I can't hear Rob, but
I can, and he's telling us it is that time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here at Comic Book 101. I am the Princess of Weird, Josh Johnson. This
I'm Michael Stanley.
is Michael Stanley. Thank you for watching Comic Book 101.
See you next week.